quite 1/4, and never just half, but the entirety of one primate, whole. It is the part of a story, an idea that means more to you than me. Hello and welcome to Full Gorilla Life. We are Jeremy Keene,
Larry Medina, and Cory Hewlings.
Each week, we will break down an important life concept or talk with an inspiring person so that you can live your full gorilla life.
Hey guys, welcome back. We're going to talk about success today and what our definition of it is and how we define it and how maybe you should have a definition of it. So we're just going to go around and define it for ourselves and what it means to us. So Larry, what is your definition of success? Whenever somebody says this is a successful person, or whenever you think about somebody that's successful, what does it mean to you?
Yeah, so that's a very loaded question, right? Because if we sit back and we think about success and what does that mean to me, it can mean a lot of things depending on the moment, right? And that's the kind of side that I live in, right? We see the Facebooks, the Instagrams, van life, right? If you're following van life on Instagram, I would be like, that is successful because I am kind of, they have the ability to travel and see the world, etc. But really, for me, success right now is this. If I'm really taking a step back and taking a look at my life, having the ability to sit down, do a podcast with my friends, that is, in my opinion, the epitome of success because it allows me to spend time with some friends and share my story with other folks.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I mean, time is, I think, going to be on everybody's success list. Everybody wants more time or to have more free time or the time to do exactly what they want to do, not necessarily go to that 9-to-5 job. But the, idea that success is the big house and a fancy car isn't always everybody's definition. And I don't think it's most people's definition.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And to me, at least the trend that I'm seeing is millennials, right? I kind of... And I know the old people may be like, oh, millennials, whatever. However, I feel that from the trend that I see, they want the smaller house and the ability to travel. I feel like they have it right in that sense, the sharing economy, blah, blah, blah. But I know we're in a different route there. But that is essentially what I feel a good success
Yeah, I
is.
think that makes sense. Just this past weekend, I was at my brother-in-law's baby shower, and his wife's brother and his husband have 2 adopted children, and they're younger than I am. I'm 41. They're probably in their mid-30s, and they just bought an Airstream, and they've kept their house. They threw it on Airbnb, and they're about to jump in it. They got a van to pull it, and they're going to go travel the world for the country for the next 2 years. So in their eyes, they're in a place that can't, for them, I guarantee that's their 100% definition of success, being able to travel. They work remotely so they can work out of the van, and so to speak, like you went back to that van life, made me think of that. And for them, I guarantee that's their definition of success. For others, that might not be, and that's okay, but it's definitely really cool. I'm actually excited to follow their journey and see where they go. But
Yeah, I think that'll be really fun. So Cory, that question...
For some people, for your wife and my wife, they would not live on the road.
No.
No, I don't think my wife would like that either. I don't think we would enjoy that process.
Yeah, my wife needs a nest.
I also would not enjoy that process, Kane.
Not if it's with others. I think I like to have my own little.
Just
I want to have
general, with your wife and
my
kids,
hotel room and go back into a place. I think is important for me. Yes and no. I think if you stay focused on the why and what you're doing, I think, and that lends itself to success, right? You have to attach that why to it. If you're doing this for you and your family and your kids to have those experiences, I think people are a little more open to get out of their comfort zone and go towards those things. But it definitely depends.
So what is your definition of success, though, personally to you?
Personally, to me, as I was a kid, my dad used to say this all the time. He used to say, if you get up every morning and you're excited or you want to go to work, and this is just for career purposes, right? Because that's not the only thing. But if you want to go to work and you're excited to go to work, you're in a good place to make money. And whether we never want to make everything about money, but money does help you provide for your family. And I think that, in a nutshell, would be my definition of success at a very basic survival state, right? So having the money to to give my kids what they need for their experiences, to provide a home in that thing. And again, no, we don't want to focus on those things because I don't need the fancy car or the fancy house, but I definitely want to make sure that we have a place to feel safe and all that type of stuff. But I know you mentioned time, and I think that's huge, having that time. I'm in education, so I've, over the last 18 years, I've had those summers off, and that's been really nice the last 10, having time with my kids. And I find that being as extremely successful. Although my bank account won't show it to the level of others, I still feel really happy. And then that goes to the happiness. And I think, I'm not sure if we mentioned that yet, but success and happiness probably go hand in hand. So all that kind of put together, I would put 2 words on it. And that's passion and purpose.
Yeah, I feel like that was a good point. Success and happiness should go hand in hand.
Yeah, they
should.
Because I feel like you could say that you were very successful at something, but be extremely miserable.
Yeah.
Because if I was a day trader and I made, $2 million last year, but I hated being on the computer, I hated following analytics and statistics, and it was just
You
miserable.
were just good
for
at
me.
it, so you did it. But
Yeah.
I would be successful
in some eyes,
yeah, in some eyes, but not happy.
I
So
mean-
I feel like personally, your definition of success should have happiness in it. Like if you're going to sit down and figure out what your definition of success is for yourself, you should factor in that happiness 100%. Like
Yeah.
that
Yes.
should go hand in hand.
I can't tell you the book I read, but I remember reading. There's been a couple books, and I'm sure you guys have probably come across it too. When you talk about success, and they say you want to be able to define like what's a perfect day look like from the moment you get up to the moment you go to sleep. Not like a normal vacation day, not just an average every day. What does that look like? Does it look like getting up and having the time to sit on the front porch with a cup of coffee with your wife before you go to work that you love doing, and then having time with your, like, that just depends on
But you
everybody
have
individually.
to-
But you have to, go ahead.
You have to define it.
Exactly,
Because
you
a
do.
lot of
You
people
really
won't sit
do.
down and think about that. They just think like, oh, well, I want to be on the beach in Maui.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. So think about it like this, right? So we look at people who are successful, like a rock star, a movie star, or something along those lines, and yet they still commit suicide, and that is obviously means that they're not happy, right?
Yeah.
So if they're not happy, if they're not enjoying life, and that is they're out from a, not to go completely dark, right? But by the same token, I would consider them, from outsider looking in, that they are super successful. They have everything going for them. They have a ton of money. They have all the houses. They have all the cars they need. They have all the girlfriends, boyfriends that they want, need, whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, they weren't successful.
They weren't happy.
They weren't happy.
Yeah, because in your eyes, they weren't successful. I mean, to a lot of people, they look successful, and that day trader that made $2 million last year he might be successful at that thing, but success should be a personal definition.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can't define it with happiness, to me, it's not success.
Yep.
So I think it's very
Yeah.
important to define it for yourself, so you know what you're going after. Because if you don't know what you're going after, you're just you're chasing the stars, and you
Right.
don't know
And
what
that's
star you're after.
the why, right? That's
Yeah.
connecting that why, that purpose
Yeah.
to it. You're gonna, if you're happy with it, you're gonna be passionate about it. And if you know you have that why, that purpose behind it, then that's where those two go hand in hand.
Yeah,
I
if you
think, a lot.
can't connect, if
So-
you can't ask yourself, why do I
Yeah.
want to be successful? Because that's where you have to start, right? When talking about the why, why do I want to be successful?
Right.
Because I want more time with my family, because I want to travel, because,
So to get into that, like, because I know we've talked, what is your definition of success? And you might have already just started talking to it. So go ahead and go with
my
that.
personal definition would to be able to wake up every day and create something, to spend time with my family, to have really enough resources that I could do something different every day that fulfilled my life, that pushed me outside of my comfort zone, that let me really just better my life on a daily basis, whether that be educate myself, or if it was to, just relax with my family, or just really time in general, being able to have the time and resources to do what I wanted on a daily basis.
and the ability to choose what you want to do with that time.
Yes.
Yeah.
So by resources, you mean like things, or being able to call like somebody, be like, hey, I want to skydive today, and
both. I mean, it's resources to be able to survive, and resources in contacts and stuff like that I've made over my life, that I can no matter what the situation arises, that I can even contact somebody that has been through that before, or can help push me to the next level.
And I think that's part of success, right? Nobody can do it truly alone. You have to have a group of people that you can lean on at times. And I think when you get to that point of having the time to lean on them, or even to reach out and now let them lean on you, that adds to, I think that adds to my definition of success and what that means, because now I have people around me that mean something to me, and hopefully I mean something to them. And now your fulfillment becomes even more outside of you, more than just your immediate family.
Yeah, and to that point, right? So one thing that I read was the Tim Ferriss Tools of Titans, right? And in the beginning, there's like a 2-page written document written by Arnold Schwarzenegger. Mm-hmm. And what he talked in that was about exactly what we just said, where no man does anything alone. And he mentioned that, and he talked about how he had great mentors and he had great people around him at all times. And that's something that I find very humbling, very cool, because it's somebody who is ultra successful, right? Yeah. Yet he's calling it out, saying, I'm not a self-made man. And that's exactly what he said in that written is it in the forward? Paragraph. It's in the forward, yeah. And basically he just said, I'm not a self-made man. Nobody is a self-made man, because everybody has everybody has a mentor. Everybody has something in their lives that allows them to excel or do the things that they want to do.
And that kind of goes into our second question about, how do we deal with the resistance that keeps us from getting to success?
Yeah.
I think when it comes to resistance, I think of a lot of different things, and there's at least two different things. There's your internal resistance of your mindset and how that happens and takes things. And there's the external resistance. And I think a lot of times I've gone through some things recently, like through job interviews and this and that, but I feel like they didn't go my way, which so be it now. But in the moment, you begin to, when you try to get forward and get out of your comfort zone, it becomes uncomfortable. And then therefore you almost subconsciously retreat back into a comfort zone. And that's resistance in and of itself. And you have to be very cognizant, and to be able to attack that, to stay out of that, so you don't get stuck.
Yeah, and to add to that, right? So resistance, what does that mean exactly? So if you are a person of success, you know how to get past that resistance, and that's really what we're trying to get at, is what the resistance is what does that mean exactly? So I can tell you, for me, if I am at home and I may get lazy on a task or something along those lines, and that could be that resistance that is not allowing me to move forward. And so if I take a step back, something that should be easy to do, sometimes I make a mountain out of a molehill, because I'm being, for lack of a better word, a procrastinator, lazy, whatever you want to call it. I'm doing that, and that is the resistance that is keeping me back from being able to become successful.
So do you think it comes down to like choice in that moment, and you just choose it to take that road, if you will?
Yeah, basically. So one of the things that I read was Stephen King, right? Mm-hmm. He is a writer. And a lot of writers, what you'll read about is that they have to be inspired. And that's when they go ahead and they churn out a book. Yeah. Stephen King churns out a book like 3 or 4 a year, right? And they're all like 1,000 pages. So basically what he does is he just says, I just start writing. I don't wait to be inspired. So he just starts writing, and half of it may be crap, and he'll throw it away. Like, that's okay, right? So basically become a professional. Whatever profession you're in, whether it's project management, whether it's being a teacher, whether it's being a welder, you definitely want to make sure, you just want to start doing it. And if you don't start doing it, then you're just procrastinating.
That was
right?
Jeremy's phone, by the way.
No, wasn't.
That was Jeremy's phone.
No, that was not.
So you'll go ahead.
Jeremy's phone.
Thank you, Cory.
So definitely go ahead and start at 9 a.m. or whatever time frame that you set. And if you go ahead and if you just schedule it on a daily basis, then you'll do from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Get to work, do what you got to do, and then move on. But so basically, to get away from resistance, you just have to become a professional.
There's a discipline
See,
piece
to
to
me,
it.
I feel like as far as like resistance and getting to success is learn to love the resistance. Because it's not just that moment where you're procrastinating and that's your resistance. It's that moment when you're completely outside your comfort zone and you don't want to do it. You don't want to push through because there's that pit in the bottom of your stomach that makes you just say, this is too hard. I don't want to do it anymore. Like, let me just go back to what I know, what I'm comfortable with. So I feel like if you learn to love that resistance, because for me personally, you can't get that feeling any other way. That's the only way to get there. And to me, it's almost a high. When I feel it, like, I know it's painful. I know that it, might not feel good in the moment, but I can't get to that other side unless I feel that resistance. So for me, you just learn to love the resistance. So the next time it comes up, you get used to that feeling and you're like, oh, I know what this is. And the more and more you do it, the more and more, you become comfortable. It honestly,
and therefore you have to continue to push yourself further to stay in that.
Yeah, it gets
that
harder
area.
to feel that pit in your stomach if you're always feeling it. Like if you're always pushing yourself to that next level,
which can definitely push you to the next level by staying in that.
Yeah. And basically how you get
wheelhouse.
to the next level, right, is basically that which hinders your task is your task.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't if you can't get past this, you got to do it so that you can get past it. Like there's no
That's one thing.
That
you definitely
mindset. If you can't get rid of that mindset, then
that is your uncomfort spot. You got to get through to get to the next.
That's
step.
exactly it.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I get
Yeah.
that.
So in order to get to the success, you definitely have to go over some hurdles. Part of it is your resistance within yourself that keeps you down and keeps you from being able to move forward. And that's really what you're trying to get across.
So as part of the podcast, we kind of want to give our listeners some type of, action item that they can do every week that, will help them to better their lives, to go out and live that full gorilla life. So we're going to try and give you an action item every week that you can put out for yourself. So just better your life in general. So this week we're talking like making sure that you define success for yourself and know what it is. Because a lot of people just say, I want to be successful, or I'm going to be successful, or I want to buy a new house, or I want to buy a new car, but they don't have an actual definition
no
for
idea
themselves.
of what it takes to get there or how they want to get there.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the other thing too is ask yourself why.
Yes, and it's not even the
If
roadmap.
anything, start with that.
Yeah, it's not even the roadmap though to get there. It's you got to know what the destination is first.
You got to start with the why.
Yeah,
right?
you got to start with why do I want to be successful?
Yeah.
So whatever that why is, and that's different for everybody.
Yeah. And to that extent, right, be as specific as possible, because if I say if I'm going to travel to Tennessee, I can't just say I'm going north, right? There's very specific routes that I have to take to get to Tennessee. So same thing, if you want to be, in your eyes, successful, define it, right?
Define it. Yeah,
What is it exactly that you find to be successful? And then figure out why. And then after that, everything will come into play.
Yeah, don't
And
worry
then
about
start.
the roadmap. Don't
I
worry,
agree with you there. You don't have everything.
Worry
You don't
about
have
the
all the details,
destination
but
first.
you know what you want and the why, I guess, and then start
Yeah,
in that
absolutely.
process, because
And don't cheat yourself, because if you just say, "Hey, listen, I want to live on the road out of a van, and that'll be my life," like
Ask yourself why.
ask yourself why.
That's going to be very uncomfortable,
Yes.
right? So
Yes.
once you commit to that, there's no turning back, right? You're in the van now.
you have no nest to come back to.
Yeah.
So definitely figure out your why, and why is it that
makes-
would make you happy.
Yeah, that makes sense. You got to have that, because if you thought that why, you're lost. You're not going
Yep.
right direction.
And with that, folks, this is our first episode, and thank you for listening.
We appreciate everybody listening. If you guys got any questions, comments, or concerns, or would like to be a guest on the show, please hit us up at fullgorillalife@gmail.com.
And if you'd like to follow us and see what's going on social media, you can follow us on Instagram at Full Gorilla Life and on Twitter at Gorilla Full, kind of like beautiful, but with a gorilla.
Thank you for listening to Full Gorilla Life Podcast. Please hit the subscribe button on your podcast app of choice. Until next time.
Later.
Peace.